right, guys, we are back with another video. Welcome, and let's get into things. Before we start things off, I quickly want to remind you of my services over on Metafy. I have guides ready for Eternal Weekend Europe. I have Isadelver Cutter, Dimir Tempo, Dimir Reanimator. Don't sleep on that one. Of course, we have all the guest primers. Some of these will be more relevant than others because of the Entomb and Nadu ban, but look at all of these experts. What a treat. And then, of course, I have my vintage guides over there alongside my normal strategy articles. So if that's anything for you, I hope to see you over there. And now let's get into the actual video. All right, guys, let's get into some more legacy gameplay before Eternal Weekend EU. I will be traveling there, doing commentary, saying hi to everyone, organizing the dinner for my members, and even playing a Team Trios tournament in the Pauper seat. So I am looking forward. Speaking about looking forward, let's have a look at this awesome Reanimator build, post-Entomb, post-Nadu. I had the idea that this deck was still playable. I monitored some initial lists, and then I formed a chat with a couple of Eternal Weekend winners, Bosch and Roll, Godek, and my good friend Eureka. We shared a lot of ideas. We worked on numbers. We each brought different philosophies that we wanted to incorporate. I wrote an article about that alongside the guide for this deck, basically how we arrived at the 75, different thoughts into the card choices, etc., etc. So I highly suggest you go and check that out over on my Metafy. This deck is essentially trying to get an Atraxa into play just like old times, but now we don't have Entomb, so we have to play with, our surveillance a little bit more smartly. To be fair, when you play 6 fatties, it's a lot easier to do some brainstorm Undercity Sewers trick. We now have Tainted Indulgence and Roiling Dragonstorm in the looter slot. They both have different pros and cons, of course. We're playing 6 reanimation effects with 6 fatties, so we're leaning a lot on game 1 combo. Really love the Bitter Triumph here. When that card is good, it's really good, and the downside is it's sometimes a dead card. We still lean on Tameo, cantrips, free counters, the plan B of Murktide Regent, and then a little bit of Brazen Borrower here for unforeseen stuff like Chalice, I guess flying in a pinch, ensnaring bridge, etc., etc. Sideboard wise, we focus a lot on the plan B with these 13 cards and a couple of consigned to simply respect Eldrazi and Mystic Forge. Baragoyf, plan B, creature of choice, but Bowmaster's in here in heavy numbers because of Izzet being such a high metagame share. It's also good against, Sneakage, Show, Doomsday, etc. At that point, you can just play a Disruption deck. 4 Fatal Pushes because we really value getting out of the gates without getting run over. Explosives for Chalice and I guess a little bit of Go Wide. And then the Mystical Dispute as poor man's Pyroblast in the world of Show and Tell, Stock Ups, Force of Will, Murktide Regents, you name it. So let's take this deck for a spin and play some Legacy. All right, let's do one of my favorite things in the world to play some Magic the Gathering. We play first with Dimir Reanimator. Nobody thought that was going to be words coming out of my mouth after the Entomb ban, but here we are. This hand is going to be a keep. It's not very impressive at all, but I guess I get to surveil. I get to draw 2, discard 1, and then maybe I end up with some Murktide Regent game. Maybe I find a fatty, and maybe my opponent's weak to Force of Will. This hand has potential, but it's not, it's not great or anything. Dragonstorm versus Tainted Indulgence is a little bit of a weird one where how much do you value the dragon bonus? How much do you value the type on this card? How much do you value it, being easier cast off of Wasteland as a mana source? So lots of different stuff. And then the Tainted Indulgence being instant speed plays better with Bowmasters. There's just a bunch of stuff that goes into building a deck like this. Also, some people like Careful Study. I think that card is quite bad. It's a decent game 1 card to have, a faster combo deck, but it's a card that mitigates variance very poorly, and that was one of the biggest things that we wanted to do with this deck. To basically have a deck that is already half boarded, if that makes sense. Dragonstorm is a lot less embarrassing than Careful Study in the sideboarded game. Okay. Brainstorm is a good one. So I guess we take that card, draw it, play Roiling Dragonstorm to dig as deep as possible, and then we have Brainstorm Surveil for later. If we find a fatty, I like that. All right. Let's play Dragonstorm. This is a card that the opponent, in theory, should give us, you know, credit for running, in the sense that if Atraxa hits the bin, you know, very bad stuff can happen. So I wouldn't be surprised to see this resolve too much when it shouldn't, and get countered too much when it shouldn't. With that being said, it resolves. We don't find a fatty, so now we have to essentially speculate if our opponent is on Tempo, Doomsday, Mirror, or something else. Maybe discarding Bitter Triumph is not a bad shout. Well, maybe it is if the opponent's a Tamiyo deck. Okay, this is kind of interesting. Is it just a Brainstorm? Maybe it's Brazen Borrower. Maybe that card is a little bit unexciting. Okay. So just imagine in the spot that this card is Careful Study. It's just, this is already very, you know, unimpressive. Let me say that. All right, here's a Tamiyo. So let's see if there's a second Brainstorm coming here, or it's just like a Ponder. Grixis, good to know. Good to know. Here's a Brainstorm. So we can let this go because we have Bitter Triumph that can kill a Planeswalker, so there's no need to get dazed. But let's see, what is this? Grixis Tamiyo deck. I didn't keep up with the sneak attack decks of the world. So who knows? Let's see. Tamiyo flips. And it's a card I want to kill right away. Here's Atraxa. Not bad, not bad. So let's play land. Let's discard Atraxa. And now we have 6 reanimation spells in our deck. That's going to be must counter. I will force pitch Brainstorm if I have to here. So I like our spot now with Atraxa in the yard and 6... what is this? Basic Swamp? So we're playing... Is it... Okay, this could be Dimir Tempo with a red splash for like Molten Collapse or what have you. I think this Tamiyo is fine. I think I have to try and find Reanimation. Okay. Let's force a negate. I don't think having a flip Tamiyo is where I want to be, since the force negation doesn't protect my combo later. I think that's fine. We do at least lose the digging power of Brainstorm. All right, let's see. Undercity Sewers. A little bit of selection. Digging deep. Digging deeper towards Reanimate. All right, the opponent now needs double force or to have Cling to Dust in the main deck to beat us. That was an insane draw. So let's see. Underground Sea. Force a Will. Like this, I think, is perfect. Then I slam Murktide Region with double force backup. So Thoughtseize might be... I don't think it's better. I would rather have Murktide and double force. So done. Play land around Daze. Play Murktide Regent. My opponent knows about Force Blue card. I even get my enchantment back. Oh, okay, so let's see. So if I Thoughtseize, this is my blue card. Okay. Potentially mistakes were made. Potentially. I'm not sure. But I for sure should have thought about it. So the annoying thing is I didn't learn much here. So I'm really hoping my opponent tries to play the game with Molten Collapse here, because then I kind of get confirmation that I'm playing against a fair deck, but they're not going to give it to me. So let's see. They fetched this red one. They fetched the red one with the Tarn. They didn't have to. So they have red cards in the main deck. Is that card Molten Collapse, or is that card... is that card Sneak Attack. I think I'm going to bank on that card being Molten Collapse because of the basic swamp, essentially. So let's see. How does it look like if I get rid of my combo against this deck? Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should actually have like these out. You can put those out. So that's 6 cards, trimming on the ratio here. And then what if I'm adding 6 cards? I mean, I want those 7. That's the thing. I want 8. Okay. Maybe I don't want Force of Will. Maybe I can just go like this. Let's see. This is 12 cards in my plan B against Dimir Tempo. I mean, I do like that. What does that even look like if I... Maybe the Baragorf is worse than I initially give it credit for. Maybe I can go like this. Cut 10 cards, then I need to cut 1 more card to make it all fit. Thoughtseize good. Reanimate's good, just in a, you know, slow game. If I'm cutting 1 card here, which card stands out? This sideboard plan is not exactly perfect, so maybe I cut something like 1 Dragonstorm. I think that's okay when I'm going down on fatties. So I still have 4 looters and then, you know, surveil stuff. I add 2 Baragorfs to the deck. Yeah, I'm not sure about this. I recently added the 3rd Bowmaster. So I guess we'll see. Okay, this hand is good. I get to kill Tamio turn 1. If not, I get to Thoughtseize turn 1, play from basics. Bitter Triumph places Attraction into the yard for future potential. I think a lot of, when it comes to this deck, is about the potential, right? So you're paying a somewhat high price. Wait a minute. So the opponent has a 1-lander? Or the opponent already has a Tamio, I guess. You're paying a somewhat high price to have Atraxas and Reanimations and stuff in your deck. But I think it's reasonable. Underground Sea is a cool draw. Now the question is, what did I learn from my opponent binning the Tamio? I want to try and wasteland my opponent and see how that goes. If, you know, if it doesn't do anything, we just kind of restart the game because the opponent just played a tap land. They didn't develop anything. So I think that's a decent way to try and start the game. So this could mean they don't have land, but it could also just mean they have more Tamio. Okay. Well. So let's see. What's the most important thing to be doing here? Is it Thoughtseize or is it start digging for stuff? I could see start digging for stuff being slightly more important. Okay, let's hang on to this Thoughtseize. So the opponent kept a 1-lander. Could be a sketchy one. Could also just be one with like surgical Force of Will, right? So we have to give our opponent a little bit of credit here. Of course, we're highly advantaged, but we're not out of the woods yet. We could have like some bad exchanges. The opponent draws a couple of lands and they're straight back into the game, right? So let's see what we can do. This card is a lot better than a random card. Love the Baragorf. So now I will Thoughtseize my opponent. Okay, there's a red blast. That's cool to know about. I guess we knew about that from the volcanic, right? Let's see what kind of hand the opponent's working with. My plan is to... Oh, wow. I mean... Oh, Thundertrap Trainer. Got it. So the opponent's Grixis Wizards. You got me. You got me good. Okay. That is not a problem. So what does that mean? The opponent has Graveyard Hate in hand? Yeah, the opponent breaking on land here is kind of unexciting. Let's see if we can capitalize. Sewers. We find a card that's not a land. Let's slam the must force card. Force of Will. You got it. Tamiyo gets exiled. Let's cast the Brainstorm. See what happens. Okay, we have a game now because of my draws here. That's cool. The game would have been over if I had some good cards here. So I guess we like that for content. Here's maybe a Thoughtseize. All right. The opponent's in it to win it. I mean, any spell is a good draw here, right? Reanimation is even live. Any looter card, Bowmasters, Tamiyo, Murktide. I guess a card like Brazen Borrower would be some of the... And I guess extra copies of Atraxa or Fatal Push. I guess we have some stinkers in there, but... Yeah, let's see what we can do in this window. They take Atraxa. Okay. I don't know if I should be scared here. Did they tech a Reanimate into that deck? Or is it because they will be slamming Niall's Spellbomb and this is going to be a long game? What is this? Oh, now they want to surgical my Atraxas. That is okay. You got it. Okay, surgical my Atraxa. So sure, now I'm never going to put an Atraxa into play because my creature split is 4-0. But reanimation spells are going to be just fine with Baragorf in the mix. They're on 3 cards. I just drew Murktide Regent. I will hang on to the land in case I draw a looter. You know, Dragonstorm or Tainted Indulgence. It's good to just treat them as pseudo brainstorms when it comes to, like, when do you play out land, when don't you play out land? Here, previous turn I played out land because of the shuffle, right? So, but now I think it's good to just assume I'm drawing a draw 2, discard 1. All right, so Murktide Regente. I will even do it for 4 mana. All right, Murktide Regent as a 4/4 dies to Flame of an Orb before killing the opponent. Okay, never mind. Force Pitch Ponder. The opponent's down to 1 card. We, in theory, have a game on our hands here. A game that I'm highly likely to draw out of, essentially. So let's see. Should I play out my Verdant now? Is that good? I think I have my forces in the sideboard, so I don't think there's any reward at all. Maybe it's fine to play because one of my best draws is going to be Brainstorm. All right. The opponent kept probably like Triple Force Surgical-ish. Okay. Let's see. Thundertrap Trainer would be exciting. Ponder. Okay, that's not exciting. This game's pretty cool. The opponent was left in the dirt for 1,000,000 turns, and I failed to slam the door. Brainstorm, an amazing draw here. So we can put back 2 lands. I think that's all good. Then we can Thoughtseize our opponent, even though they probably left the best card on top of the deck. Baragorf is gone. And I'm passing. I will be playing the 3/1 end of turn. Let's see where they hit on top. Is this a trainer? It is a trainer. Okay. Trainer into what? Trainer into Thoughtseize. So I will slam my Brazen. The opponent will find Badlands here, I believe. And we're starting to work on the opponent's life total. They will take the Triumph. I will kill the trainer before their turn because of Flame of Anor. And then hopefully I can draw another action card to stop this game. No, I can't. Okay. So let's Fatal Push that one. Attack for 3. So the opponent left Barrogoyf as a bad draw now because they left me with the Bitter Triumph instead of Push. I'm not sure about that. Thoughtseize. I will get my attack in here. So what's the card the opponent would have? I guess could be a draw 2. Anyway, I'll try and Thoughtseize my opponent here. Okay. Pass. They're down to 4. Turn 11. The opponent didn't play land on turns 2, 3, and 4, I believe. And we're still here. That's a good one. Let's see. I have 1s, 0, 7, and 3. I think this is a draw 2, discard 1. I'm going to attack first because if my opponent has Orcish Bowmasters, they will play it now. And if they don't, then I have second main phase Tainted Indulgence lined up here, stepping on the throat. Let's discard that one. Let's wasteland our opponent, and let's hang on to the Brainstorm. I want to dig as deep as possible in a spot like this. The game is over if they don't kill... Okay, well, I think that's going to do it. That was a pretty sweet one. We got to do our plan A, essentially, and then we got to win a weird game here. With a very scrappy situation. Turn 12. Is this a dead Fatal Push because of the life situation? That would be funny. Cling to Dust is a card. Cling to Dust on the Murktide Regent. Gain 3. Take 3. Okay. So I will play Tamiyo Brainstorm. Orcish Bowmaster's lethal. Flipped Walker is quite strong. And we get there. Hooray. So put back land, put back Bitter. Bowmaster. And we take it down. All right. That was cool. Let's get some more games in with this new Reanimator deck. All right. Round 2. Dimir Reanimator. You know the drill. Except we're playing with a handicapped version, of course. No Entomb. How do we feel about this hand? The opponent's on the play. They mulligan to 6. Negation could be backbreaking. Thoughtseize could be backbreaking. Wasteland could be backbreaking. And then we end up in a spot where the game goes somewhat long and we get there. We will be quite bad against something like Delver. I would love to play against stuff like Show and Tell, Oops All Spells, Doomsday, unfair stuff, essentially. So pretty high variance here with what we're up against. Underground Sea, Tamiyo. That is probably not what I want to face either. I think the response here is to work on the opponent's mana and make the clues bad that way. Land was an atrocious draw. Absolutely atrocious. I need to draw some looters ASAP. So the opponent has a double mulligan to try and recoup here. Looks like they have a decent 5, and I was playing against a fair deck all along. I guess it still could be an unfair strategy. So a shuffle off the Ponder, I take that as no land. I draw my own Tamiyo. Maybe it's time to play that card off of Basic Island. I like that. All right, Basic Island. Wait. Maybe I should go Underground Sea so that next turn I can go Thoughtseize Surveil. Yeah, that's better. All right. I play my own Tamiyo, which is, you know, fine, right? I know I have the lands to kind of capitalize. I don't know if my opponent has those lands, so okay. Which deck concedes here? Multi 5, Brick on Land, Underground Sea, Tamiyo. What am I going to assume here? Am I going to assume Force Negation is good against my opponent? I don't think I should. I think that would be crazy. I now know that Mystical Dispute is good. I now know that Orcish Bowmaster is good. I now know that Fatal Push is good. So maybe we do the same sideboard plan as the last one. I think that should be cool. That's 7. Help me out a little bit, guys. What did I do last time? That's 11. And that's 11. Okay. So we don't lean super hard on Baragorth, but we do like a little bit of extra threats on top of the Murktides, on top of the Bowmasters, on top of what Reanimate can do on, you know, just a normal game of Magic of Thoughtseize, forces, back and forth, pushes. And we try and learn more about the opponent's deck, I guess. So right now, that could be a Doomsday deck, and I'm poorly boarded, but let's see. All right, no colored sources. Send it back. And a very unimpressive hand here that we keep. Put back a land, and we basically hope to turn on some of these cards, right? All right, looks like... Ooh, turn 1 Nethergorth. I was about to say looks like turn 1 Thoughtseize, but it's not. Roiling Dragonstorm. Probably a fine draw. I think land passes the move here. I'm willing to take 1 from the Nethergorth, but I'm also conscious that Orcish Bowmaster is super annoying here. So what happens if I cast Fatal Push in response? I should probably do that to preserve my life total. All right. Let's try and Fatal Push the Nethergorth. The opponent already made their land drop, so I don't have to think about Wasteland. They did that so they didn't get dazed. So I'm not pointing my finger. I'm just saying it leaves me with a little bit of luxury when it comes to fetching. I don't have to second guess whether I should do it or not on the end step or now. Anyway, let's see what the opponent takes here. They take Roiling Dragonstorm. Okay, so I guess that's a way to make Reanimate less potent. Okay. And then they take Nihil Spellbomb. I'm confused. 3 cards in hand. Draw Brainstorm. Not bad, not bad. Nihil Spellbomb. So Reanimating Nethergorth is at the same time fine and unexciting. Here's another Reanimate. So maybe the second copy of Reanimate is not very good, so I do like this. I think that's fine. Then Reanimate the Nethergorth. Currently a 3/4. Sorry. Sorcery entered. 4/5. With Cracked Spellbomb and 0/1. So let's say they have Orcish Bowmasters. I get pseudo blown out. It looks like it. Oh, maybe not. Okay, let's see. If they have land Bowmasters, they kill the Goyf. No, they would have done that before. There's a state-based effects, and if I have days and stuff like that. So they would have played Bowmasters if they had it. Let's see what I can do. Can I draw anything that keeps the engine running? Atraxa. Probably my worst card. Let's go for a Survey Land here. See if we can find either a good card for next turn or a bad card I can put into the bin. let's say I find something like Atraxa, right? Then I attack for 2, so it's a good main phase move. The opponent knows about Murktide Regent. They like their top card. They hit it from a Thoughtseize. That's cool. Speaking of Thoughtseize, this is probably going to be a Thoughtseize Murktide Regent. No, it's not. Because then they left me with the Brazen. Okay. Thoughtseize is a good draw. It takes their best card and grows my Nethergoyf. Can't complain about that. It seems with the no fetch that they like even their next card. Ooh, they play Feed the Cycle. So I actually don't think they play Murktide Regent. I should probably take Brazen Borrower because Brazen Borrower gives them a Nethergoyf back. I'm actually quite excited to snag that card out of the opponent's hand. Okay. They keep taking damage, which is a little bit weird. 5/6 Nethergoyf. A good one. Oh, they have Feed the Cycle. Let me just put it here. I clicked the wrong one. Something like Fatal Push would be great. I do draw Fatal Push. All right. So let's Fatal Push. I think it could be time for the opponent to fire a removal spell. And then the problem is they have those Nethergoyfs from the yard. Okay. I like how they play here, actually. Bowmaster with the chump block, and then hanging onto the Feed the Cycle. No, they're taking the damage. Is this a Kaito line? Did they find Kaito as the last card? So Bowmaster gone, but they have Feed the Cycle. Should I brazen their token here? Petty Theft. Okay, I'll Petty Theft the token. I don't mind. They do have Kaito. They probably need to stun the Nethergoyf. Alright, Kaito going is bad news for me. That's also bad news for me. So, play a fetch land pass. So the opponent came prepared here with Nihil Spellbomb, tons of Thoughtseizes, and they could kind of slow roll removal. But it looks like if they have a good mix of a draw, they have me covered quite a bit. Also, with me bouncing the Bowmasters, my Brazen is now bad, so unclear. Unclear if mistakes were made. The good news about this game, too, is my opponent doesn't know that I'm on Bowmasters myself, so that could be some good situation. See and Ponder into the graveyard. Here's Brainstorm. I hardly think I can win this. Especially because Bowmasters has my draw stuff covered. Bowmasters pings me to 5, then it's lethal. Okay, so I guess I don't have Enemy Dead in my deck, so never mind. Tainted Indulgence is a card that Bowmasters punishes all day. 7/1. Okay, so it's a draw 2, discard 1. So I guess when my opponent end steps the Bowmaster, I need to indulge into something like my own Bowmaster. That would be incredible. Ooh, they don't do it. Well played, well played. Okay. That was well played by the opponent. Draw. Okay, we get bricked. So now the opponent knows about my plan. Does that change anything, that fact? So let's see. Explosives, I mean, clears Nethergoyf and Tamiyo, but maybe that's too unrealistic. I think I like my setup. I'm just going to give it a little bit of time here for my opponent to second guess what I'm doing, think a little bit more about days, think a little bit less about the combo, stuff like that. Dimir Tempo is a tough one because the deck that I'm sideboarding into here is a worse version of my opponent's deck that is running, let's see, these 12 cards, right? I mean, all of these cards are great and all. And then there's something about those. So I'm basically hoping that these cards, the upside is enough, or keeping my opponent off balance is enough, you know, stuff like that. Okay. This hand is fine. We get to, I guess, stall the game out of the gates. I should probably go basics. Wait a minute. Basic Swamp, Thoughtseize next turn. Tarn, Thoughtseize. End step Surveil, and then I have Brainstorm Surveil available. Yeah, this is a tough one because I'm weak to Tameo. I'm weak to Bowmasters. Let's see what this hand is working with. Okay, so this hand is going to be hard to beat in a longer game. Maybe that's fine. So I should take the creature here. Leave them with a ton of 3-drops. Delta. Fatal Push is a good one. Play this, cast another Thoughtseize, go to 15. I have to think a little bit about my life total in this game. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so Underground Sea has joined the party. I actually don't think that Daze is going to do much. What about taking the Brazen Burrower? Because then a game of Pusher Baragoyf, Reanimator Baragoyf becomes live. Murktide better later. Okay, let's try it out. I'll be at 14. The opponent can choose to surveil here. They don't. I actually like that. So now if they drew exactly Orcish Bowmasters, I'm a sad guy. I'm currently looking for the card Reanimate. Not looking for the land. They do have days, but I don't think I'm allowed to play around that here. I think I need to cast my Brainstorm. Ooh, this is beautiful. So I could put Reanimate Atraxa in the other, no, in that order. So I go Reanimate, Atraxa, put Atraxa into the bin, and then cast a Must Force next turn. That's pretty good. The opponent's still... not surveilling end of turn. Here's Baragoyf. So the opponent's last card needs to be Force of Will, or I'm doing very well for myself. Here's Reanimate. The opponent had Surgical. That's cool. Surgical Extraction was the last card. We didn't know about Daze, Baragoyf, Kaito. Okay. Okay. It's going to be a tough one, I think. Surgical was the perfect card there, no doubt. And now they know about the push. I should kill it. They play another. I have to untap and bounce it? Yeah. This is not good. So, let's see. Push to Baragoyf. Was I supposed to bounce there? I think maybe I was supposed to bounce there. Ooh, now the opponent can slam Kaito. Love it. They should do that. Kaito the Mind Sculptor. There it is. So funnily enough, that was a good reason for me to push on my turn. Otherwise, the opponent would have drawn a card there thanks to the fetch. But yeah, this is hardly going to be beatable, I think. Bounce that card. Waste a C. Yeah, I think I'm kind of cooked this game. Maybe I need to draw some Murktide stuff. Baragoyf. There we go. Funnily enough, the Daze is haunting me a little bit here. Huh, that's funny. Bounce that card. Pass. Let's see if I can get Revolt. The problem is only bad cards give me Revolt. Like, those would be bad draws, right? I guess the exact second Wasteland would be a good draw. That's the only card that gives me Revolt. That's a good draw. All right. Let's ponder. If there's a Reanimate on the opponent's Baragoyf seems decent. Draw 2, discard 1. That's unexciting. So let's see. Reanimate onto Baragoyf. Yeah, that's going to be my move. And then the next card is going to be Tamiyo, I guess. All right. This is my way back into the game. Reanimate that card. Now I'm in a spot where if this resolves, my opponent has an answer to Baragoyf. My push is on and we kind of play on. So if the opponent goes, let's say, Wasteland, push, right? Then we're on. So this is feat the whatever. Dead. Fatal push that card. The opponent has Kaito Daze. Okay. Okay, 4 or 5 Nethergoyf is a good one. That is a good one here. So, Tamiyo. Should I slam a Brace in here? I'm not sure. I'm just going to do it. Brace and Borrower probably gets dazed, but who knows? Daze is out of here. My next draw is Tainted Indulgence. I will go to 6 here. If the opponent wants to, they get Kaito going. So I go to 7, I guess. Or 6. They know how to deal the damage first. You can Kaito in the damage step here to get in for 1 more. That's a cool one. Surgical was great this game. That was cool to see, right? Because if it's a force, at least I'm drawing to my second Reanimate, but it was a surgical, so that was a tough one. So let's see. The opponent could have gotten in there with Kaito and replayed the Nethergoyf, so they would have had an untapped creature. I guess that's slightly better, but who knows? I think what I have to do now is find Murktide Regent. But even that is going to be... No, that's not going to do it. Maybe I just misplayed here. Maybe I was supposed to, like, block Tainted. Let's see. Okay, so I guess I discard a Brainstorm. Do that. Do that. Pass. Losing to the Kaito quite handily here. I think I need to find Bitter Triumph to have a shot. So that would be something like drawing Bitter Triumph, cycling into something to discard. But yeah, I'm in trouble here. If the opponent wants to, they can waste me off of that path. If the opponent wants to, they can plus the Kaito to kill... No, that's not how it works, right? No, that doesn't kill Tamiyo. Anyway, I think I'm cooked here, and it's just up to the opponent how they want to do it. Surgical extraction was too strong here. So essentially, when I put that Reanimate on the stack, it was only a matter of whether the game was straight up over, or we would play a longer game where the opponent was advantaged, right? I think that actually sums up this deck quite nicely, where if we get to do our thing, we win the game. And when we don't, we are at a disadvantage, right? Because we're playing this 80% mid-range deck. So, looking in my graveyard for Bitter Triumph, failed to find. So let's see, 2, 1, 0, 3. That's 4 types. So Tainted Indulgence is not a draw 2. I guess I crack a clue here to find Bitter Triumph. Okay, I think that's gonna do it. Let's see. 2, 1. I guess if it's here, I survive. Okay. Good games, great match. All right, we were bested by the superior blue-black fair deck, and let's play one more. All right, last round with Dimir Reanimator. We keep having these super unexciting openers. On the draw here, what's the potential of this hand? The potential of this hand is we hope the game is fair and we have time to salvage this between Tamiyo either sticking, providing a distraction, and then getting there with some churning cards. I guess we also secretly hope the opponent is relying on Wasteland in their plan. Ooh, this could just be a fast one, depending on if we're searching for an oops creature or doing some slightly more fair things. Once upon a time. Every time they try and make a card like this, it's just it seems so hard to balance, right? I think this is very well balanced, and then Gitaxian Probe is over the line, and, you know, stuff like that. It's just an interesting category of cards. Windswept Heath. So we get to at least play the game here. I will say this hand is quite bad against a lot of stuff that would open like this. Let's see. Okay, Reanimate is not bad. I do have Brainstorm, Surveil, and Tainted Indulgence. That's a lot of digging for Atraxa or Orcon. So let's see how crazy the opponent can go here. Maybe Flip Tamiyo can buy some time. Gaia's Cradle. Here's the Cub. So now let's see what this is. They make that one into a 1/1. That is also a Gaia's Cradle. And when... Ooh, that's the card I didn't want to see. Okay, so the opponent has an absurd turn 2 here. That's all goody. Curator eating an instant. I like it. So it's impossible for me to build a fatty now, but I think that's what it would take. Because of the Curator, and I don't play removal spell to play 1 Brazen Borrower. I guess I'll get in there with Tamiyo. Let's flip the card. Maybe put back Surveil, put back Swamp, I guess. Yes. Shuffle. I think I have to catch my opponent off guard to win this game. Let's Thoughtseize. Their Thoughtseize. Wow, so they... Oh, I guess they didn't have any black until, you know, they untap. So just right now, Tamio can get attacked for 2-3 damage. Well, looks like the opponent drew a good card. Green's on Zenith for 5. I don't think I can let that happen. So now I have to pitch Ponder, otherwise I'm giving up my strategy. And I think I'm losing this game, so I should not give up my strategy. Actually, ooh, I think I get lucky here. I think my opponent could have, let's see. No, they couldn't get the Curator up to full, right? Because it's only instant, sorcery, land, no creatures. So I think that's actually a blessing in disguise for the opponent, that they're not able to fully pump the Curator. Now, my only hope is the opponent will over-respect Murktide Regent. Hopefully they're weak to Murktide Regent, and they kind of clear my graveyard ahead of schedule. Wait a minute. Not attacking with the Cub. What does that tell me? Oh, Exalted. Never mind. So let's see how much they clear ahead of schedule here. Unfortunately, it looks like they just have to clear one thing. Oh, these tap for 2. Never mind. Whenever attack... Okay. Fair enough. So the opponent can clear my whole graveyard if they wanted to, but they don't. So if I go land Murktide, that would have worked. So I guess I will cast a Brainstorm and try and find Murktide Regent. Well played by the opponent. So if I go normal land, slam Murktide, they're in trouble. But that's not what happened. Well played here, managing Murktide Regent. I draw some bricks. I think this is time to concede the game and not show what I'm up to. That was a crazy run out from the opponent. I didn't enjoy that one. So let's see. Negations are always bad against a deck like that. It's usually, you know, if you counter a Zenith, it's serviceable. It's not exactly exciting. So I love all of these cards. I love these cards, but I also love my, well, I think I need my plan A, is what I'm trying to say here. So does that mean no Brazen? Could be yes. Does that mean trim force to 3? I could see that. I need to trim one more card, and it could be an Archon. I wouldn't be super against that being an Archon. Could also be one of the looters. Bitter Triumph is awesome. I feel like I need to cut a combo card here. Explosives. Let's see, what does that do on average? Guess it kills a ton of 1-drops, and that's awesome. But maybe they diversify enough. Explosives for 2? I don't know. I'll try and cut explosives. I'm not sure about this. I can reconsider on the draw when I have a little less time to work with. It's mainly just my combo is more likely to have their board state covered when I'm on the play, right? And then I can accept that I'm going to be fighting a little bit from behind on the draw. I think that's going to be my philosophy, if we get there. Yeah, wow, that was an impressive turn 2, right? The awesome turn 1 Reanimator dork, turn 2 the Cub with Cradle, explode your hand, and have the Curator with tons of mana up. I hope that Curator is not like a 4 of. I've seen that in previous iterations when Dimir Reanimator was on top, and that would be very bad news. I hope they just got lucky and natural drew a Zenith target. Okay, what does this hand need? This hand needs to find, like, a looter and a black land. I guess that's reasonable. It just looks a little bit bad. But I think it's better to cast cantrips that see 6 cards rather than mulligan and get 6 cards looking for that stuff, right? So there's the looter, but there's no land. So let's see how this works. If I have to draw through these next turn, I think this is a little bit... No, maybe this is fine. Let's see. What am I pitching? I'm pitching a Traxxas of Force of Will. Next turn, I don't think I'm doing anything. I would be going land pass, drawing the second card of this pile. Then I probably force a spell. Then I draw the last one. Then I cast Brainstorm, see 3 new ones. Okay, I guess I'm keeping this hand. Keeping this, Did I mess up against Thoughtseize here, though? I think I messed up the order now against Thoughtseize. I should have drawn the Archon here. Okay, that's bad. Well, can't cry over that, but I think a better player would have stacked the Ponder differently. Draw the Archon, then draw the Force. There's no reason to get Thoughtseized here, essentially. If I cast Brainstorm now, I see 1 card less. But if I get the land in the top 2 under there, I guess I'm super happy. It's tough because time is also money. Okay, I'll try and cast a Brainstorm. Cross your fingers. Here's a swamp. Here's a swamp. So what I could do now is... Thoughtseize my opponent or Thoughtseize myself. I think I should Thoughtseize my opponent, but it is quite close. So what I probably have to put back, let's say, Reanimate and Tainted Indulgence. Because I kind of need to cast those cards into each other. Yes. Wasteland being bad against my draw, I do like that. Weather the Reliquary is something I can force. So I think, let's see. I'm sorry. So what happens if I go take the white? The opponent goes cub, land, cub. I think that's fine. I'm sorry. All right, let's take the cheap one here, because that's an avenue to Bajuka Bog. If the opponent plays Grist, I force that card. And I have to think about whether I prioritize Murktide for later, or I prioritize the better Fatty in Atraxa. Maybe that Murktide is a good one. And I have to close out the game, and my opponent randomly draws like another Grist or whatever. So let's see. Archon, they sack a creature. How does that work? How does that work even? When it dies or is exiled, return it to the battlefield tapped. Okay, so this is pretty good Archon insurance. The opponent has important decisions here. I think they must be thinking about days with the way I resolved my Thoughtseize. Because I left them with a 3-drop. I took the 2-drop. I'm currently pretty happy with having my sequence on top of my deck. Hidden from Thoughtseize for the time being, at least. Here's Wasteland. And here's Grist. Okay, so Grist has entered the chat. And I think it's time to make a decision here. And that decision is going to be pitch Atraxa to keep the Murktide around. Now I'm going to play Indulgence. Let's do that. Let's Surveil. Unfortunately, that was not a an untapped land. That's kind of why I played the Indulgence ahead of schedule. Now, obviously, the punishment could be the opponent drew a Zenith, and they can Zenith for 3/3, and I'm losing. But I think it's worth it, because if there's a land there, I beat a lot of the stuff the opponent can draw off the top of the deck. But yeah, now we ended up educating our opponent instead. A little bit of high variance. So I don't love this. It looks like the opponent drew what they needed to shut me down. I guess not. Let's see what they drew. They just drew the 3/3? That would be super backbreaking. So note that the sacrifice on the Archon is not that great, but, you know, eating cards from the opponent's hand, clocking in the air. Hopefully that stuff will balance it out. Also note, if I don't get wasted, I have... Ooh. So wait a minute. What happens here if the opponent makes the Wasteland into a creature? Land you control. When it dies or is exiled, returns to the battlefield tapped. Okay, so you can get wasted over and over, essentially. So I really want to draw land here. Let's see. They're going to sack that. That's going to come back, and then I can waste, hopefully. So Reanimate onto Archon. Let's see if I can spike a blue source. Maybe I misunderstand. What if they sack the Bayou and it comes back? Why didn't they do that? It enters tapped. So I'm supposed to now upkeep, I guess. Okay, I'll try upkeep. Does that? I don't even know if this works. Let's see. Magic's too hard. And I'm gonna give him a free mole. Is that even... I don't even know what I'm doing here. I guess what I was doing here was saying you don't have black mana this turn, but that's about it, right? 3 mana. I don't know anything about my opponent's hand. Here's another mole. The opponent has 1,000,000 mana. Uh-huh. So, more moles. So now the opponent can't attack. I have them dead in 2 swings. Uh-huh. Archon. Here's a 1/1 for the opponent. They go to 6. So now, can I find a better card than simply just slam a Murktide Regent? I highly doubt it, so let's do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Murktide. Pass. And now I have 2 lethal creatures. My opponent needs to draw Zenith, I think, or Natural Order, I guess. Ooh, yeah, this mole seems very, very annoying. I need to kill my opponent fast if they have stuff like that going on. Now I'm on the draw, and I'm trying to think whether my plan A is gonna cut it. On the draw, what are the chances I have time to, like, Roiling Dragonstorm? So let's try and think how Baragorth works against a situation like we just had. I think that card would buy a lot of time, also do a lot of nothing. It's basically, I would be trying to get to my creatures anyway, right? I want the explosives here on the draw. I think Wasteland can go. I don't think I'm Wastelanding that deck. Okay. Well, I guess let's try that again. Now the opponent knows what's going on. Which is always a little bit scary, right? If we're just playing against people's normal game plan, I like it. But if they're able to mix in, you know, the sense of urgency and the slightly better mulligans and, you know, slightly better sideboarding, then it's a different ball game. So let's see. This deck is supposed to be a good game one deck. That's kind of the theory. And then we just have to get there once out of two, right? But now it's the other way around. So scary stuff. Scary stuff. As always, it's awesome to be recording here and a few hundred guys enjoying the show. I like it a lot. So thank you so much for that. Ooh, what to do about this hand? I mean, I'm going to keep this hand because I have a ton of answers. I would love to see my second land very soon. Thoughtseize. Okay, so this hand actually doesn't care all that much about getting Thoughtseized. I think the opponent will take my Thoughtseize, but who knows? Explosives is very good for the opponent to know about. Now they can kind of hedge their bets. They're not going to get blown out like 5 turns from now by explosives. If I don't draw land, I'll probably be playing from basic swamp, which is not something I like. I don't know how many wastelands is in my opponent's deck. I would guess a single, but with the mole, I guess you should play more. Yeah, it should probably be a 4 wasteland deck. You should probably be a 4 wasteland deck if you have the Earthbend going on. All right, let's see what they're up to. So the reanimations are redundant. Pushes are always going to be good. Thoughtseize trades 1 for 1, but gives me a sneak peek into what's going on. Maybe that's an advantage. But it also costs me 2 life, and will have force me to make a decision on my land. So there's a lot of small stuff going on here. I'm leaning towards they take Thoughtseize. But if they take push, I'll be more concerned about wasteland, I will say. In general, this hand ensures that we get to play a longer game. So both of us will get like 3 to 5 draw steps before the chips are down. That's just a good way to think about hands like this where, okay, so I have this many draws to find a land, or, you know, essentially the hand can evolve. We have only seen the start of it, essentially. The opponent takes the Thoughtseize. I draw, ponder. Does that change anything? I think it's better for me to prolong that, prolong or delay that decision. Also, now the opponent, quote-unquote, knows they're getting pushed on the end step. Am I willing to surveil? Let's say they play like a good creature here, White of the Reliquary. Am I willing to surveil, look for land, and if I don't find it, cast Ponder for the land? Am I willing to go that far? I think that's the question I should be asking myself here. What I could do is push it on end step. untap cast Ponder off of Underground Sea. Nurturing Peatland. Here's exactly the scenario. Am I willing to get cooked by bricking on land? I think I'm willing to do that, yes. So how do we do it? What's most valuable? One more look or mana usage? One more look or mana usage? That's the question. That's what the old Egyptians were asking themselves. The Romans. One more look or better mana usage? What's my sense of urgency here? Feel like there's a game to be played here. Ponder looking for land. Surveilling. If I find the land, I'm a king. The opponent knows this card is not going to survive. Was that really their worst creature? Surveilling also gives me the YOLO Atraxa Archon line. Okay. So what if I brick twice, then I cast Ponder and brick? Okay, I'm going that line. I think this is incredibly close, but I am willing to go down swinging here. Mill over Brainstorm. Draw Atraxa. A classic. And let's cast the Ponder. I do find the land, but it's not it's not the best one. Let me put it that way. So push. So I'm currently getting cooked by Wasteland, and I think that is very annoying. But that's how it goes. We got our land. We're losing to Wasteland. We get to play the game if they don't have it. I have Ponder on top of my deck. Essentially, if I can't beat Wasteland, I should stack my Ponder so that I have the better run out when they don't have Wasteland, right? Then that's just a better one. I want the game to slow down here and become like a one-for-one slugfest. I'm not winning if my opponent has some explosiveness. Peatland. Okay, the opponent knows Wasteland is game over. Or very close to it. Interesting. Really, really interesting. Here's Dryad Arbor. Dryad Arbor. A card that I might end up killing with Fatal Push due to mana usage. So, guess the Archon is just straight up bad. I like the land, but I might also like the push. So what about surveilling and then passing the turn, I guess, if I break? Okay, let's try and surveil here and get lucky. Crazy. Wow, wow, wow. Okay, well, I guess endurance or bust here. Yeah, that was not fair. That was not fair. So, enchantment, creature, sorcery, instant. Do I like all of these? Land. Let's see. I draw 5 cards, but attracts it to the graveyard. So let's see. Tainted Indulgence. Is that better than Fatal Push? I don't think so. Draw 5. Go to the cleanup, discard Atraxa. Yes, explosives. Yeah, let's discard those. So now, I guess this deck can do some insane things here with exactly this. Yes. So that's this taps for 4 now, I believe. Okay. Well, yeah, now the opponent's probably in trouble. I was scared about like some natural order shenanigans there. So with all of that being said, let's attack for 7. Okay, let's see what this is. Okay, that's a cool one. Huh? Yes, sir. Okay, so no Atraxa that turn. I get to push the Cub. I get to push the Cradle. And I get to reanimate another Atraxa, I guess, after that. So let's play like this. Basic. Animate dead the Atraxa. Dig for Force of Will to ice the game. Atraxa. Yeah, the game's over. Okay. So we got to do our thing here because we got lucky on the Surveil. I mean, this was a cool league, right? Or a cool run out, a cool set of games because we got to showcase like the Giga upside of surveilling into Atraxa. We got to showcase, you know, looting it into the graveyard, Bear Triumph, getting there. We got to showcase the grindy Plan Bs. We also got to showcase how surgical can be a huge difference maker. So all in all, I'm very, very happy with this showcase. You cannot always get like the perfect working conditions when you're showcasing a deck. So I think this was a very, very fair review. So yeah, I'm happy about it. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the show as well. If you want to check out the guide for the deck, I highly recommend my Metafy. I have all of the good stuff over there. I'm organizing a cool tournament soon with hundreds of treasure chests for my members only. And yeah, that's going to do it for today's video. Thanks so much for watching as always. And if you're playing Eternal Weekend EU, I hope you have a fun time over there. I'll be watching from the commentator booth. And who knows, maybe I get to cast some of your matches. Thanks so much for watching, guys. And I'll see you next time.